2024 has been a rough year for NASCAR Crown Jewels. No matter which way you want to split it, no matter which way you want to look at it, this just has not been good for NASCAR's biggest races, and it's partly out of their control, and I think some of it is within control when it comes to buildup. So let's look at all three that have been run so far and see what has been done, what can be better, and what's not so good. Starting with the 2024 Daytona 500, going in chronological order, we can, not start it, as the race was rain-plagued, one throughout the weekend, but then on race day itself, washing out the event that night and pushing it to a Monday. Same thing happened to the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Daytona hadn't had any rain really in any substantial amount for weeks, and then NASCAR comes to town and all of a sudden it's a deluge. Unfortunately, this is something we've seen more and more, but Monday still had a pretty good showing when it came to the stands and it came to racing. It was relatively good. There was, again, solid side-by-side, three-wide racing throughout, not completely gridlocked either, like a lot would like to say. There was strategy, maybe entirely too much strategy when it came to fuel saving, but still strategy that NASCAR fans normally would like. And while it messed up a bit of the finish, there was a big wreck for those watching for that reason. The finish, though, is what ended up in controversy and clouded the entire event. It was under caution, which while I'm okay with, it seems like more and more NASCAR fans are not okay with, and the controversy was more or less over who won, with some saying NASCAR just gave the win to William Byron over Alex Bowman. More or less, the problem was that Fox failed to show the moment of caution and show who was ahead at that time. They pretty much tried to get off the air as quickly as possible, and in turn, NASCAR fans were left confused and angry. And this is something, again, that can be just fixed with better broadcasting. After that, there's the 2024 Coke 600. This one is interesting because it was shaping up to be a once, maybe in a decade, maybe a lifetime, maybe a generation type of thing, and it ended up being a once-in-a-generation type of disappointment. This was supposed to be the finale of what could have been Kyle Larson's Indy Charlotte double. But unfortunately, the Indianapolis 500 got delayed by rain, and Kyle Larson chose to miss the start of the Coke 600, and the opening half of the race at that. The Indy 500 finishing while the Coke 600 was in the first stage. The racing in Charlotte was fine, but nothing really special, as nothing was really able to materialize with how short the night was. 2022 and 2023 were damn great races any way you want to cook it. They were races with side-by-side action. There were races with amazing storylines and insane finishes. Unfortunately, we would not get that. But even so, Kyle Larson was showing up in stage 3, and it seemed like he'd at least be able to finish the last bit of the 600 and finish the double partially. Unfortunately, the race was abruptly called, and Larson wouldn't be able to complete a green flag lap as rain showed up. But they were able to dry it, everything looked good, drivers were called to their cars, and within 5 minutes, the race was called for humidity, which most people can attribute to Fox calling the race as it was late at night, and it was probably going to be difficult for them to get the entire race in anyway with rain still on the way. But it left a horrible taste in the mouths of just about any fan, especially those 100,000 plus that attended in person. And it started a weeks-long debate about whether or not Kyle Larson deserved to get a playoff waiver for choosing to miss a NASCAR Cup Series race over an IndyCar race, ultimately being resolved, but still leaving a really bad taste in everyone's mouth about it. And of course, you have this past Sunday's Brickyard 400, the return of this event for the first time since 2020, and a return of fans for the first time since 2019. The racing was a typical aero-sensitive race at Indianapolis. Anyone expecting anything really much better than that was fooling themselves. We've seen it throughout all of NASCAR's history there. But this race was another marred by controversy. First off, you have the line violations exiting the pits. While NASCAR did call the rule correctly, they were very, very bad when it came to clarifying it with others like Chase Elliott and Brad Keselowski, and many can say that guys like Kyle Larson should have been called for it even though he wasn't. You add on top of that the finish seemed to be redeeming the race. A three-way duel between the 6, 12, and 5 with Larson charging through the pack towards them was looking to be an all-time banger type of finish before, of course, the yellow came out for Kyle Busch running out of talent. And with this, the overtimes completely blew the race up, with the final one having NASCAR hold the yellow flag for a stopped car with Ryan Preece on the backstretch until after Kyle Larson had got past the white flag. People are now still asking whether or not this race even is a crown jewel when it comes to NASCAR racing, and you pretty much have an event that had all going for it with 3 laps to go, being completely forgotten because of controversy after controversy. All I can ask at this point is, please, can the Southern 500 at least save us when it comes to these kind of events? So what's my outlook on all these? Well, I'll say this. All big events, no matter which sport or league it's in, run into slumps. The Indy 500, for instance, about a decade and a half ago, was in a pretty bad slump itself. And up until about 2009 or 10, it was really NASCAR that was the big event at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, whether or not IndyCar fans and Indianapolis natives wanted to admit it. Then you have, for instance, a Super Bowl in the 80s. There were a lot of different blowouts that made the game, for many people, not as much worth watching. Yet now the Super Bowl is one of the biggest and best events in all of human history. So there is downturns no matter how big they are. NASCAR, unfortunately, has a downturn in pretty much every crown jewel, which I've said before, a year ago was not the case. Yeah, Daytona's had its iffiness, but you look at the 600, it's had a resurgence. The Brickyard didn't even exist at the time at that point again, and the Southern 500 has been a solid crown jewel since its return in 2015. So I say when it comes to fixing these up, I think NASCAR just needs some good luck and effort. The good luck coming with the weather. For the love of God, can it just not rain at our big events? And also when it comes to effort, you got to build up these events. You got to treat them like they're special, both at the track and at home. With Daytona, build up speed weeks again. Give people a reason to camp out at Daytona for 3 weeks. Have some sort of racing at the track or activities at the track, and have more practice sessions so all of us at home can get some kind of good storylines heading into Daytona 500 qualifying day. When it comes to Charlotte, I think doing different things and activities again at the track, Humpy Wheeler-esque, would be the way to go about it. You have a great crowd even, you need to entertain them. And have that stuff on TV. Have that stuff on YouTube. Have it where people can find it. Have a burnout competition if you're not going to have it for the All-Star race. And for Indy, again, I'm going to go with crediting David Land on this with going with an Indy 500 type of buildup. Again, give us storylines heading in other than just the media talking points we beat like a dead horse throughout the week. For me, I want to see all these do well, and I think they all can do well. It just is going to take a shift in how NASCAR looks at them. But with that, I want to know what you think of NASCAR's crown jewels. Do you think this is a blip year or something bigger over time? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support, and be sure to watch NWP on my channel tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time with special guest Emp Lemon. Can't wait to see you then, and until then, have a good one.